Takeaways here in the morning news. Beebe is the favorite for starting center. How surprised would you be, Brian, if it's anybody else?
I think there's going to be a competition there. I think when we get they're starting to work. Today was the first day that the rookies got to work with the veterans, and I heard it was a walkthrough stuff. I was out there Saturday and watching Beebe work, him and Guyton and those guys, Thomas, they all, it's drills, it's half line drills and stuff like that. Everything looked fine with, just athletically they look good. But I think there's going to be a competition. I don't think. The thing is, Mike Solari, the line coach, really does like Brock Hoffman a lot. And Brock Hoffman has spent, from what I've been told, spent a lot of time in the building, been there every day, working hard. These coaches love those guys. That's how Terrence Steele, if you remember, with Joe Philbin, Joe Philbin fell in love with Steele because he was there every day. He got there early. He was the last one to leave. He was in the weight room. He's learning. He's asking questions, all these things. So there's a lot of love for Brock Hoffman. I just don't see them giving Beebe the job. But it's clear that I believe they would like for him to win this job. But I think there's going to be, at least initially in training camp, those two are going to have a little bit of a battle.
Did you see some of the snaps? How do you think he looked?
It was fine. I mean, he had a couple of shotgun snaps and stuff like that. The ball wasn't all over the place. It wasn't rolling on the ground or anything like that. So, under center, fine. Shotgun snaps were fine. And watching him do the drills and stuff like that, everything looked good as well.
I want to follow up on this with you, Wolchuk, because I know he's kind of like your pet cat. You were stoked. His parents are following you. I mean, this is a cool story. But would you be disappointed or would you be surprised if Beebe can't beat out Hoffman?
I would be. I would be surprised. And Brian's right. I mean, we got to talk with Mike Solari on day 3 of the draft, and thanks again to the Cowboys for bringing in the scouts and the coaches. And yeah, absolutely. I think that Solari would love Brock Hoffman to get every opportunity to win that job. I think competition is going to be good. I think they're going to have competition across the offensive line for some of those backup roles as well, with guys like Nate Thomas and TJ Bass at guard. But I do think ultimately Beebe's your best guy. I just think he's a better player, and I think he will win over the job. I think the IQ is also something, and the leadership ability is going to put Cooper Beebe over the top.
Right on. Well, now, Brian, when you compare and contrast the players on tape, is Beebe not significantly better than the last time you saw Hoffman? Does he not have better mobility, getting to the second level, stronger?
Oh, I'm glad that they drafted Beebe. Yeah. This is where all of a sudden Dallas has done a good job of plug and plays. We say that all the time, but they do have a love for a particular player. Whether we think one is better than the other, they might not necessarily think that. Hell, we all thought Terrence Steele was awful.
Yep.
We all were trying to figure out ways. Gosh, why they release this guy? They release this guy to keep Steele. Coaches get in their mind, especially offensive line coaches, get very, very stubborn about their guys, and they're just not going to give Beebe the job. Beebe's going to have to go earn this job, and he'll be the better player when it's all said and done.
Well, to your point, it's interesting if you remember Tyler Smith's rookie year. Tyron was healthy, so they were playing Tyler at guard, and they had a battle with him and the other guard that's now McGovern. They were going to start McGovern, and we were all out there at camp like, what the hell? McGovern's getting his ass kicked. Tyler Smith looks much better. Why are you starting the inferior player? And then eventually Tyron gets hurt. They've got to play Tyler at left tackle. But, yeah, they're not necessarily – sometimes maybe we heard Philbin didn't like Tyler Smith, and that might have been something to do with it.
Well, either way, I love that Brock Hoffman's having a great offseason because maybe he can grow into a good center and you'll have Beebe for guard at one spot or the other. Like that's I guess encouraging in some ways. It was just surprising, I think, to hear that Hoffman, who wasn't highly drafted or anything like that, might have the pedigree to withstand a challenge from Beebe. But hey, he's been in the NFL. He's been working out. He's been working hard all offseason.
That's the thing about it is though that they threw him out there last year and he played, and so they have an understanding like, okay, this guy might not be, but they'll get an understanding. They know what Beebe is from his college days and stuff like that. They just want to see him come in and have the success that he had at Kansas State in training camp, practices, and then also though in these preseason games. I'm sure that he will win this job.
Okay, next thing we learned from Cowboys rookie minicamp is that running back by committee is what it will be. McCarthy said it wasn't right to ask Elliott, third in franchise history in rushing yards, to become the man again. I don't think that's fair, said Mike McCarthy. I think right now your running back room is in search of a long-term answer.
Yes.
We're just holding the phone for somebody else,
there's no
right?
question that you're going to work the waiver wire here, and you got these compensatory fifths that you have. You got your own picks you can use. I would get on the phone and see how, well, they'll wait, training camp the first week, maybe 10 days of training camp, you'll go through and you'll see what you have and see how these running backs are all performing. And if it looks like that it's not going to be, say there's improvement in the offensive line, but the backs aren't getting to and through the hole or making anybody miss, then, you can't waste that opportunity. You've got to go out and make something happen. And I could see them using one of these picks to try and go get something from another team that might have some quality surplus.
What'd you hear or see about the quarterback from Northwest Missouri State that was
He's not going to be. They're not going to bring him to the camp. So he was just a camp arm for him.
Wanted to give him a chance to show what he could do.
Yeah, that's absolutely. At this point right now, I asked somebody in the organization about that. I go, hey, any chance you bring the kid along as the fourth quarterback? And the answer to me was not at this time.
I mean, you have three really good options at quarterback. I might be looking.
They all need work.
Yeah.
Maybe not the starter, but the guy that needs the most work is Trey Lance.
Yeah,
he needs to take every rep you can give him.
I kind of like to see Trey Lance start an entire preseason game like they did with Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Cowboys getting set for a battle at third wide receiver is another storyline coming out of the weekend as they talked about, the chance to get Zay Jones, and Steven said anytime you got a chance to add a pro, you look at it and see, but we like our group. If we think somebody can improve us, we'll take a look at it. Really didn't answer the question, but
they're looking for wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They've drafted a receiver. This is a huge year for Tolbert.
Yeah.
They've got, that's a third round pick right there. There needs to be there. He got better last year, but he needs to be the guy that they put out there every day as a third receiver and 11 personnel and make a lot of plays. They need to develop that. Him and Dak need to develop more of that relationship and chemistry there between. They need him to play better, but they're hunting a guy right now.
Wouldn't you rather give your opportunity to young guys, or do you think it's crucial?
Well, he's a young guy.
Zay Jones is?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Tolbert.
Yeah.
No, Zay Jones. See, the thing about, Gang of Seven was telling me that Zay Jones was a better route runner than what you had with Gallup. Same type of player. He just can't run. He's not a fast guy, but he's a veteran guy. And when the people in Jacksonville were telling me, hell, when we were making our playoff run, he was a guy that the quarterback was kind of leaning on in those games, throwing him the ball because he had a little bit of a clutch factor to his game.
Yeah.
So, I could see where the pro guys are looking at the tape and they're like, hey, he's better than maybe what Tolbert and what we've got right now.
This is what frustrates me about the Cowboys. They've already said we have a diminished roster. We're not going to be as good next year. Last year, you weren't close. You weren't in the ballpark of what turned out to be the actual contenders. Why spend to incrementally try to get a little bit better in a year like this? There's no point to it. So you can maybe win one extra game with a play in the fourth quarter a guy like Zay Jones is going to make that maybe Jalen Tolbert wouldn't, which I'm not sure of. If the salary cap is so important, clear the damn decks of salary cap money and don't spend a dime. The Zeke contract, they're small. I think they're like, well, it's a quality player. Maybe he can help us in this situation. No, this year you've made it clear is about clearing the salary cap. Please resume that. USA Today's Touchdown Wire has best scheme fits for all the 2024 draft picks. And your second rounder, Marshawn Nealon, wins best scheme fit among rookie defenders here from the USA Today. Why do you guys think that is?
Plays the run well.
Yeah.
He doesn't really particularly rush the passer well. So if that's what the idea of Mike Zimmer wanting to go in there and be better on the edges, it's a really good fit because Sam Williams at that right end spot is really just a pass rusher. He's not a guy that plays the run particularly well. So if you're going in with the idea of Tank playing the left side, the other guy playing Nealon playing on the right side, then that's a nice fit because they're going to try and be better on the run defense. We all focus on linebackers, defensive tackles. They weren't particularly great on the edges, and a lot of that were the guys that walked out of here. Mm-hmm. When you look at how those guys played, with Fowler and others, that when they were in games, they did not play the run particularly well, and so that's why they go out and draft a guy like Nealon, and Nealon could be the guy that I think that when they have enough with Tank Lawrence, they're going to probably shift him to the left side, would be my guess.
Because schematically, he does. He does a lot of similar things to what Tank did. Tank a better pass rusher coming out of Boise State than Nealon, but there's some similarities in their game.
And then the final story we'll get to here from Bleacher Report, the Lions on record saying Jared Goff is a high priority. They are working on this as the summer in the NFL gets underway, and we'll get through these OTAs and minicamps, and then we'll be in that final climb to the training camp. How does Jared Goff's deal impact the Dak deal is the angle that Blogging the Boys is playing here. I'm not sure how to answer that. When his teams are good and can run the ball, his efficiency numbers are through the roof. Is he as good as Dak? Is he going to get 50, 55 million? How do you reconcile all that, Chief?
Ooh, I think they're in a similar ballpark of player. I think whatever Jared Goff gets, Dak is going to be trying to get more. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting contract. How is it structured?
Games, some Super Bowl play.
Yeah, he's gone deeper, obviously, getting to a Super Bowl and things like that. So he's got that notch. But I think most people probably have Dak being the better quarterback than Goff. We know what type of perfection he sort of needs around him, and he had success with McVay. He's having success with Ben Johnson, two of the best offensive minds in all of football. He's got the best offensive line in the league. Like, let him get pressured, and he's a completely different version of himself. So I think we know what Jared Goff is, and it's interesting. You're Detroit, and you're like, man, we're like, this is the height of our entire organization right now in terms of like how good we're playing, and are we comfortable with this? Can we risk going into the quarterback abyss, if you will, when we're kind of on this heater right now? But let Ben Johnson go get the head coaching job next year.
That's what I would say.
Take Frank Ragnow, the offensive line coach. You start stripping the parts. Jared Goff will get back to being the average or slightly above quarterback that he actually is.
That's where I would be careful. If you're going to overpay for Goff, you got to be careful that Ben Johnson's going to walk out that door next year. And the reason why the Goff having success is because of Ben Johnson.
Right.
So you have to be very mindful of that.
I mean, he's getting protected with the Rams in 17 and 18. His passer rating is over 100. He's throwing 30 touchdowns and like 9 picks a year. And then boom, the bottom falls out. And all of a sudden he looks like he's a 90s quarterback with some of his numbers. Like, whoa, bro, what happened to the efficiency? But now he's back in a big way. I wouldn't want to pay that if I'm Detroit.
No, I agree.
They do have the best line, we feel like, in football, right? So that's the protection. Yeah. They've got running backs, which we all kind of like there as well. The skill players, they St. Brown and others there. I mean, they've kind of
Jameson Williams.
Yeah, they bolstered that thing. So, if they overpay the quarterback, it's probably because they think that like he's the piece that helps them keep it going.
Yeah, it's tough because your timeline is win now with everything that you've got set up here. So it's like, you really are asking the question, if it's not Jared Goff, who is it going to be? You're not at like the rebuild.
They drafted Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
They drafted Hendon Hooker.
Okay. They will know. Do they need to pay Jared Goff based on what they see with Hendon Hooker this preseason and during practice every week? If they think Hendon Hooker can be a guy that legitimately could be a starter, then he can play hardball with Jared Goff a little bit.